The House settlement has finally passed, finally. The days of paying players has finally arrived in college sports. Not just NIL, but the schools are going to be striking checks to a maximum amount of $20.5 million is the cap. That's going to go up each year, by the way. But the flip side is there will now be rules about what NIL is. If it's a company paying a player to do some advertising for them, that's going to be okay. If, however, you just have, say, a club and you say, give us a membership fee and we'll just hand it to the players, that is not okay under this rules. And there are a lot of schools, including Tennessee, who do that. So it's going to be a new twist on what NIL has been, because now somebody's going to be sitting there grading it. The College Sports Commission is handling all that. But first things first, will we make it to football season? Will we make it to September 1st without someone filing a lawsuit saying, this is a salary cap that wasn't collectively bargained. You're just putting an illegal cap on this. Will we make it to football season before the first lawsuit is filed?
No. We won't make it till Friday and before the first lawsuit, because it is illegal, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this violates U.S. antitrust law. Now, we will make it to football season without an injunction from a judge saying they have to stop doing this. I do believe that. So, and even Greg Sankey said somewhat recently in a panel that this isn't the destination, but they're hoping that it's a chapter and a step to get them to a framework that they can eventually collectively bargain and things like that. So, no, we won't make it till, again, not Friday. I don't think we make it through close of business Monday without a lawsuit being filed, because, again, it is illegal. But at the same time, it's only illegal if a judge says you can keep doing the illegal thing until a judge tells you you have to stop doing the illegal thing.
Gentlemen,
I think we'll make it to Saturday. Go ahead.
I'll make it all the way to Saturday.
I don't think we'll make it to the end of the show.
The Athletic had an interesting comment. Let me, before I get to you guys, let me put this comment up here. The Athletic has a warning. So they wrote, they spoke to someone who's a personnel director at a Power 4 school. If you tell a booster or business owner they can't give a star player $2 million, there will be lawsuits. There's no enforcing this. Fair market value, F Deloitte. This is going to get even crazier. Deloitte is the accounting firm who's kind of been hired to bring all this stuff under one roof. So doesn't sound like the people who actually put this thing together believe it's going to last. As Will said, everybody seems to know maybe it's just kind of funneling people in the right direction to where we can then go from there to a good spot. You're basically, this is, say, Missouri. If Lewis and Clark are on their way to Oregon, you've now arrived halfway through, but you've still got a ways to go. Your thoughts on this and what's next? Where does this go from here?
Seriously, I don't think there will be a lawsuit as quickly as has been mentioned, because I think when that starts is when schools say, we're going to give 75% to football, 15% to men's basketball, and we're not going to give much to women's sports. That's when I think you'll start seeing that, and I don't know when they're going to announce that. Some schools have already said we're going to have six categories, football, men's, women's, basketball, baseball, softball, and all other sports. Okay, so
all other sports that's going to be $0.
Yes.
And so possibly.
I'd say at most places it'll be $0.
So that's when you're going to start, I think, seeing the lawsuit. So I think that's going to come a little bit later. I don't think everybody's going to announce right now what their percentage is going to be.
Right.
And you've got some folks that are behind Title IX that say you can't do this, you have to give, I'm not going to say an equal amount, but you're going to have to pony up to pay in some women's sports. And then if you take away from football, so the football players are going to say, hey, we bring in 75% of the revenue, that's when I think you're going to start seeing them. So I'm going to go really a little bit later. I'm thinking you're probably going to get to August.
I think when you first get to a kid who says, when the schools tell him we can't give you X, we've hit our cap, I think that guy's going to get a lawyer. Somebody's going to get a lawyer and say, wait a second,
Right.
They can't pay me what I'm worth because of this arbitrary cap you guys came up with and nobody bargained it. That's not going to. So we could take your pick of what actually starts the first lawsuit. Point is, there are going to be many different things that cause lawsuits. Bob Hodge, your thoughts on all that?
I'm going to disagree with Jimmy. I think they will come quicker.
Okay.
I think there's probably somebody out there. There was a couple of things that struck me from this agreement. One was the NIL clearinghouse that they set up. Okay, you got an NIL over a certain amount, we're going to look at it, make sure everything's on the up and up. The low dollar figure to get you in the clearinghouse shocked me. $600. I mean, everybody in America is going to be in that clearinghouse.
How big's the employment staff at the clearinghouse?
Exactly.
Well, also a thing
Which
that
goes
hurts the
back to the old
SEC.
NCAA clearinghouse.
With it comes from a publicly traded company, it doesn't go through the clearinghouse. The Big Ten gets a larger percentage of their money from publicly traded companies and executives of publicly traded companies. The SEC more from private companies. So it's this is a place where it's going to become inequitable as well, because if it's a publicly traded company, it doesn't go through the clearinghouse.
You're also counting on all of these, Bob, I'll throw it back to you and let you finish. You're also counting on all of these players and their companies that are paying them being honest about what they're getting paid.
Sure.
He's paying me $1,000 and he's actually getting a check for $10,000. Who's to know?
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you, they got an enforcement staff who's going to go around and check bank records? That seems pretty out there. But you think somebody isn't going to try that?
I think the NIL thing, and then I think I read a story in another newspaper at another university up north, and they are going to fund 5 sports. And they said, okay, here's the sports. I just think that all those other kids that are there on scholarship, are they going to discontinue the other sports? No,
That's already started.
We're still going to have, and that started years and years ago. But I just see everything in this screams lawsuit.
I forget who it was. It was UTEP, UCLA, it was some 4 letters, maybe one UConn, that's 5 letters. But it was a 4-letter UTSA. Somebody already went ahead and killed their women's tennis program preparing for this.
It's like UNLV.
Maybe it was UNLV. But it's like we can't afford you. And I think eventually you're going to get fewer and fewer of those on campus unless, I was talking to somebody before the show, they said, well, they can do like high schools. They can go out and have the parents sell candy bars.
Yeah. Well, and then is that NIL money? And if you sell more than $600 worth of candy bars,
Is it
you
legit?
go to a clearinghouse.
You have to go to Deloitte. No, the other side is this. What you brought back by doing this is the bag man. Because that's what you're going to see is boosters are going to funnel through the church, the nonprofit, the way that they used to funnel money to people so it doesn't end up becoming an NIL deal or part of the revenue sharing. Texas is going to get around this. Michigan and Ohio State are going to get around this. Tennessee is going to get around this. And it'll be right back to the bag man getting money somehow, some way to the family that is not included in a business deal.
Here's a quick thing. If you're a private company and you're signing somebody up on an NIL deal, do you have to divulge to the NCAA how much you're paying them?
See, that's just
Or the CSC.
Well, we're not doing it now.
No, it would be-
We're guessing on some of these.
right.
Yep.
They're not.
Yeah.
Spire's not publicizing any of this. UT's not publicizing what these kids are making.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I'm getting at is who's to say, oh no, he's got a $500 a month deal. Wait a second, $500. Can we see his bank? Heck no, you can't get into his bank account. So how do you know 500 isn't 5,000?
Yeah.
So
And is an NIL deal going to actually be something that the player has to participate in?
well, that's the
Because you can't just sit
That's
back
the new
now
rule,
and
supposedly.
supposedly, okay, I'm going to hand you all this money just to say I'm handing you all this money.
No.
Okay.
it has to be legitimate advertising type work for a company.
Right.
So
Nah.